as an all-male podcast, we can dive into the female brain here with execute authority.
Right.
Obviously.
Wrote it down in my notes like, holy shit, this is blasphemy.
Pump the fucking brakes!
Yeah, it's throughout the show. I mean, it's just so relatable, and they use like real emotions that like high schoolers and people feel.
Yes, the student council getting it fucking done. Absolutely. Let's get this bread.
Hey, beautiful people. Welcome to episode 3 of the Unboxing Light podcast.
Right.
I'm one of your 4 hosts today, Treasure Coon. I am joined by one Mr. Daddy Dave.
You don't have to call me that, but what is up, guys?
Absolute banger of a name.
Thank you. I'm very hyped to be talking about this freaking anime.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
I'm also joined by Kaicho Amo. He's the president.
What's absolutely happening, everybody?
Yeah.
Excited to be with my friends today.
Hell
yes,
yeah.
dude.
And I'm also joined by CB-sama.
What is going on? I am so freaking psyched. I've been waiting. This is on my top 10 list.
True.
Listen to that episode of the podcast. I believe it's on Alex's top 10 as well. So this is going to be a good-ass fucking episode. I hope you are ready. Strap in.
I believe.
Dang.
We are getting going.
I'm hyped.
And without further ado, we are going to be discussing Kaguya. How do you pronounce it?
Kaguya-sama.
Love Is War.
Love Is War. Modern classic.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
Let's go.
Show, and we're gonna discuss it for your listening pleasure. But
Set
before we get into all that,
quick.
let's do our traditions.
Classic.
Of course.
I think Alex should go first.
Okay.
All right. I'll go first. So, of all the inventions of the last 100 years, the dry erase board has to be the most remarkable.
That is dope. That's fantastic.
Remarkable.
It took me a second to process that one.
I like that. That's like a subtle punch.
You know you do.
Yes, dude.
That was a little more subtle as opposed to the absurdly on the nose ones. I like that. I like a balance. I like a good balance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give that joke. That was a pretty cool joke. Like I'm gonna zoom into my face real quick and be like, "O Kawaii Koto."
Oh my god.
Dang.
That is my quote of the week.
That's your quote of the week.
Of the episode, yes.
That was good.
Shinomiya saying how cute. That shit is hilarious.
O Kawaii Koto.
Man. Yeah, you were good at that.
I appreciate it. I swear to God, I repeated it like 50 times off mic. I kept muting myself to practice just to make sure I didn't fuck it up.
Yeah.
It's so good because she says it. I think she says it in his head more than she actually says it like in real, like in actual conversation.
I don't think she ever
says it like
to him.
twice or something like that. I don't think directly to him, but like she says like Kawaii Koto or something like that. But something along those lines.
All right.
But yeah, no, that's good.
Let's go.
All right, David, you want to give us your track of the episode?
Track of the episode, everybody, is "Put Your Head on My Shoulder" by Paul Anka, which is a love song from 1959.
Good one.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought I would tie it in because it's a classic. The original intro for the first season of Kaguya-sama always sounds like a 1950s, like this classy love song to me. And the song's adorable. If people don't know, there's the version with the old lady and her dog, like doing it. Was it Melinda Herman on YouTube? That's a classic video too. Look that up. She has like this little chihuahua and she's playing guitar and singing, and he's like resting on her. We lit.
I don't think I've ever heard the track, but
yeah.
Oh, I'd say you must have, but I don't know.
Genre.
It's just
Well,
I would sing it, but I'm gonna not do it justice. So go look it up for it yourself.
Put your head on my shoulder.
Yeah. It's a really good one. Really slow pace, really nice, really romantic. Big recommend.
Very sweet.
Very on point as episode 1 of season 2, I believe it is, starts out with Hayasaka
Daddy
replacing the caffeinated coffee with the decaf coffee. And Kaguya falls asleep, or Kaicho, the Shirogane, falls asleep on her shoulder, and then they just stay there for forever.
Spoilers ahead. If you have
Spoilers
not watched
ahead.
the show, please go watch the show.
That was an
we will
insane
definitely be
spoiler.
discussing plot spoilers as we just did. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So
and without that,
we
want to
got
give us your fact?
one more. This is a Ishigami U related fact.
Okay.
It is about cheerleading.
Oh God.
'Cause as we all know, that's the ultimate arc of Ishigami's character development. So, the United States has 2.9 million female high school athletes. Out of these, only 3% are cheerleaders. Yet cheerleading accounts for nearly 65% of all catastrophic injuries in all girls' high school athletics. With a catastrophic injury being defined as one which damages the spine, spinal cord, skull, or brain.
Jesus.
So a nice little not so fun fact for y'all right there.
Yeah.
That's
I've
terrifying.
heard it's dangerous. That is terrifying.
More of the story.
I mean, look at what they do. They they're human pyramids. It's insane.
And a lot of acrobatics, meaning case in point being that cheerleading is definitely a sport. There are people who will argue against that, and I think they're literally insane. So
it is.
Yeah.
It's athletics. I mean, they compete and stuff.
Insanely athletics.
That is, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. I'm afraid of heights anyway. So I guess I would be at the bottom of the pyramid, maybe.
You know why?
With your big
Because
muscles.
gravity does not give a frick what you are doing. You will go up and come right back down, and
That's
gravity
true.
will say yeet every time.
Very true.
That is
every time.
True if big,
What goes up?
Alex. I'll give you that.
What
Yeah.
goes up must come down. All right.
Mhm.
And with all that out of the way, let's talk
Welcome
about
to the
this
review.
interesting show, to say the very least.
Interesting. To say the
Absolutely.
I
very
do want to say one thing. So
Okay.
I've seen the season 1 twice. I've seen it
Mhm.
twice.
Yep.
I watched season 2. This is my second time watching season 2.
Mm.
And for those who know me, I like to watch the shows in dub. But since when this show was coming out, I watched it in sub. It turns out there is a dub for this show. But for whatever reason, they've only dubbed the second season.
Yep.
Who is watching that? Who's going to watch the first season in sub and then say, I'm going to watch the second season in dub? Nobody. That's who.
Yeah.
Masochist.
But I watched the second season in dub so that you don't have to.
Dang.
Hey,
And let me tell you,
not good.
frick the dub. Oh my goodness. This is the worst.
Frick the dub.
This is definitely the worst dub I've ever seen so far, man.
Damn.
It is
Wow.
I can totally see that because the
Yeah.
the
Oh
animator is, or not the animator, the
The
narrator
narrator.
is so
The narrator.
incredibly animated, and
Yeah.
it's just
so fucking
the main
good.
characters themselves are so bombastic in their delivery. So
Yeah,
hearing
the
that
back
in
and
English would just be
forth and-
such cringe.
Yeah, the narrator tries way too hard to sound cool. He's not cool.
In English, you mean?
I'm
I hate
interested to see how this goes.
Yeah.
I want
I
to
hate
visit it
the way
now.
I hate the way he says Shirogane's name. He says Shirogane.
Ugh.
Oh, shit, Rogan, eh?
Disgusting.
Disgusted.
It was fucking one of us.
Yeah,
Disgusting.
that scene that Cameron mentioned earlier about the whole like decaffeinated coffee thing, and then he like lays his head down on
Yeah.
her shoulder. Since that was like the first episode, that was like the first impressions for me.
Yeah, I guess.
And she says when he falls asleep on her shoulder, she says, "An accident has occurred." And I was like, "What am I
Okay.
watching?"
just out loud, just to herself.
An accident has occurred. Yeah, she says,
That's
"How you
fucking
suck
weird,
up?
man.
An accident has occurred." And I'm like,
What
"Who
the
talks like
heck?
that? Nobody talks like this."
That's so good.
Yeah.
In English, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
But I
and
mean,
then
if you
at that
pay
point-
attention, they do talk like that in Japanese, though. But it doesn't sound cringe.
That's what it translates. It translates
Yeah.
that way, but we don't. That's not how it flows in their language.
And they also,
Yeah.
they also, Japanese has a range of formal and informal terms and grammar and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so, like, at a prestigious high school like that, like, literally the family of the nobility goes there to become, like, the heirs of their billion-dollar families. Like, they would speak formally literally all the time. So,
So at that point, it's not even the voice actor's fault. It's like the script writer is like, what are you doing? An accident has occurred.
Before we get into the serious shit, can we just discuss that she broke a Nokia?
Was it a Nokia? Is it literally a Nokia?
For the purposes of my joke, it's a Nokia.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, basically, right?
I wrote it down in my notes like, holy shit, this is blasphemy.
Top 10 most OP anime protagonist, Kaguya. God dang. They will point to this in the future.
God.
I laughed when that fell off the roof, and I'm just like, bruh.
Yeah, that was definitely a bruh moment.
For sure.
That's the very last episode, isn't it?
Second to last.
I think second to last, and the last one's her getting the new phone and everything.
Actually, no, it is the last because I think the second to last is Ishigami with the
Yeah.
Right. His backstory.
Which let's just get into it. I guess we could start with season 1.
Yeah, we can start with season 1. I wanted to do a couple of favorite moments, a couple of favorite characters, things like that.
I mean, we always I like to discuss the opening first. Always just
definitely. Actually, what am I doing? Hello.
The season 1 opener is definitely pretty immaculate. I'm not going to lie. The whole James Bond theme they got going on, even like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of thing where they're trying to kill each other.
Yeah, they got the guns behind the back.
They both have the little purple pistol that they have, and they shoot at each other. And
and they ride the theme
immediately.
Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it immediately got me into the show because I was like, this doesn't sound like any anime intro that I've heard before, really, and like the style they're doing, it's just funny, and like Alex was talking about. Yeah, before we recorded, Alex was talking about like the repeated shots where they keep going, and it's like some cheesy romance movie. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, when it looked like it was stuttering when I first saw it, and Rocio and I were like, "What?" Because Crunchyroll is like it does that, where it just completely glitches out. And I thought it was like lagging, and I'm like, already.
Yeah,
but no, it looked fun.
Dagger.
Yeah,
no, because it's like so many and very. What I was gonna say is they play on the theme of the red versus blue the entire time. I forget who is who, but they keep them colored like that, and they do that with the text and everything when they superimpose text over those scenes and everything like that. So that's cool. And then
even with their eyes, the president's eyes is blue.
Yeah. They have a variety of like in the intro, they have a variety of scenes like that where like they're brandishing weapons and stuff like that, and it's like conflict. But then they also have like, or is it? Fuck, I might be confusing the two openings. Where they're like just on the dance floor randomly all of a sudden and all that stuff. That might be Daddy Daddy Do, but
I think that's season 1. I think the season 2 is like, from what I remember, it's just like a nice little mini episode. We were talking about it before you got on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
It's like literally a little mini episode of them like baking, and then she like trips with the food, and
Chika
just like
yep, just from down below. Both openers are fucking immaculate for sure. I don't know if you want to talk about them together. If you want to talk about Daddy Daddy Do right now, or when we get to season 2.
They're both very similar in their vein. Like it's almost like it was an album that was already written, and they just decided to put one for one season, one for the other. It doesn't change throughout the season, so it just stays at one. And it kind of just carries on the legacy of the first season, which is pretty great. It's the same band, it's the same vocalist. It almost sounds like the same song, just different melodies.
Yeah, that was the best part for me, was that it was the exact same vocalist and the exact same style of instrumentation. It was like it's a different song that also bangs, but it's like very similar.
Which they did for Mob Psycho as well. They had the mob choir do like both the things. I think they're just gonna do the next one and everything too, which is dope.
It's cool because it ties the show together and it makes you feel like you're progressing with it instead of it being like a completely stark difference between the songs.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, if we had to do a top 10 of anime intros, those would probably both be in there for me, because I love the song. The songs are both really good and tie into, because if we did that top 10, I would tie it into how well it applies to the anime as opposed to just a YouTube video in and of itself. Like, does it express the characters? Does it like give you the vibe of the show? Like David was saying, was like it's so perfect for the show, and so it shows the characters in like a cool variety of situations. I'm absolutely fucking in love with the visual of the very beginning of Daddy Daddy Do, when Kaguya fires the bow and it flies by all the characters in the show, and then Shirogane is just at his desk and it like gets blocked by his big old heart shield. It's such a cool fucking visual as it's like flying through the school. But we
know that she's good at archery.
Yeah,
because she's flat chested.
Oh, I forgot about that.
We can jump directly into our season 1 discussion like that. God, actually,
that was funny as fuck. And there was another part in the show where they were discussing his problems or whatever, and he was like framing it as if it wasn't him. And Ishigami is like, that sounds like a black-haired, flat-chested type, and it like completely nailed Shinomiya just when they were talking about it.
Yeah,
dude. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. That's episode 3, I want to say. No, maybe not.
Yeah,
definitely season 1.
What the frick is it?
It goes crazy though.
But yeah, that was like, or no, it's episode like 4 or 5 because that's when they finally introduce Ishigami. Ishigami doesn't exist for the first like several episodes.
Yeah,
and that's like almost your introduction to his entire character is that fucking scene when he's like, but it's so funny the way they frame it where, like. When it's meant to be realized that he's being listened to by the 2 people he's talking about, it's just them in a blank space, and then just the couches, and then the wall, and then like Kaguya appears, and then Fujiwara appears, and it's like, it's like, and then the entire time Shirogane is like, pop the fucking brakes.
Step on the brakes. Yeah, they're right behind you, and then Chika just has a fucking fan that just beats the shit out of him.
She just gleefully wraps up the newspaper, folds it up, because they dedicate like 10 seconds of that part to her just like to her creating her weapon, and she's like, haha, and then just beats the shit out of him with it. It was so fucking
It has such good comedic timing, and like the direction of like
elite.
The animation is just perfect, bro. Like, oh my god,
I think one of my favorites, not favorite moments, but just favorite elements of the show is like whenever they're just like talking and something like someone will say something like out of left field, and then they'll just like it'll drain the color out of the scene, and then they'll just go like, like something as little as that always made me laugh.
Yeah. I
think there was one moment in season 2, the very first episode, where they did that, and I had to like rewind it and show Rocio because it was so goddamn funny to me. Just the way they do their comedy. It is the funniest anime I've ever seen.
Let's go! Like, fuck yes, dude. That's what I was railing on and on about over and over in the top 10 when I was trying to talk about how much I liked it. Was how funny it is in so many different ways, and how great the timing is and everything. And how the characters' personalities play into it over and over and over again. They write them into the situations so perfectly.
Yeah.
It never got old to me like how a Deadpool would, where it's like it's always trying to be funny. That erodes on me so much, and it's kind of exhausting at a certain point. But this show is like consistently funny, like laugh out loud funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true.
Like it's not just a type LOL kind of laugh. It's like you actually giggle.
Yeah.
A
lot of it has to do with like the scenarios that
because they're just so over the top.
Just the variety of stuff that goes down. Yeah.
This show is weirdly formatted because it's like it's segmented into 3 different episodes almost like every episode. There's 3 different adventures that they do.
Yeah. It's like separated chapters. Sometimes they link like more towards the end. And obviously
they link the whole time.
It's all chronological, and all the events that occurred like have an effect on the post ones. But like you were saying, it's separated. It's cut into chunks of scenarios.
Yeah, it's not episodic in the way that Cowboy Bebop was.
No.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot.
It's like it allows you to be like, all right, it feels more like a sitcom in a way where you're like, okay, I'm just laughing at this episode, but then it's all just going forward, and then by the end of the season they'll hit you with some emotional
with
stuff.
A nostalgia.
Like,
yep.
Yeah. And
or even when she's like scrolling through her phone to look at the pictures and it shows like a bunch of scenes from it. Yeah. And you're like, oh shit, that happened this season,
Yeah.
And I was gonna say not even just at the end of the season. They do that throughout a couple times for sure.
Yeah, which
like
I noticed
early on in season 2 with the stargazing episode, but we'll get to that.
I think season 1 was like, I feel like they shifted in tone a little bit because they're both hilarious, but then season 1, my memory of it was just like hilarious until the last couple of episodes, and then they got real, and it was like, okay, and they did the real stuff really well too, and it was like romantic and stuff.
Yeah.
But then season 2, I was like, dang, I was getting hit by stuff like every
it was
few
serious.
Episodes.
Like, it was pretty serious for like a good 4 episodes. Like it was just serious.
They switch up the format with the like the election arc, I guess, of like the president, and then they really flesh out the characters way more, I think, which is fantastic because the characters are such an important part of making it like funny and just enjoyable to watch.
Speaking of characters, I think Miko is probably my least favorite on there, like by far. I think if she wasn't included, I would have been totally elated because she's just kind of annoying.
You're talking about the chick running for president?
Yes. Yeah, the freshman Miko,
100% agree.
Okay.
She is the worst character.
She's basically just like a chess piece almost that they include for, I think it's I could look and find what episode it is, but the one right after she joins the student council and she just walks in on them over and over and over again.
Yeah,
on the sexual misunderstandings. That's her. Yeah. That's like the reason her character exists is to be like the butt of that joke and to like misunderstand.
Yeah,
so it's just I think there was far too much time dedicated to her, and I could not care any less about that character at all.
That's true. That's
they spent a lot of time on those episodes, and I didn't like her. They made her annoying at least for me, from the get-go,
from the jump.
And then they try making you care with all this sentimental crap. But it's like it's too late. I don't care about this character. I don't feel bad for this character.
Yeah,
I'll disagree there. I was a little like that kind of sucks. Like I understand, but
I can't believe 280 people voted for her when she wanted to implement a bald male policy again.
Yeah.
That was insane.
She argued for a while.
That wasn't even a joke. She was like, "Yeah, it's scientifically proven that males, drop their fucking late policies or their late attendance or whatever because they spend less time fucking with their hair in the morning." I'm like, what?
Someone come get that girl. Someone come get her out of here. Yeah, no. I mean that was that's just her intensity and the way the character is written, and I agree that it's pretty abrasive, but I think it's a valuable, maybe too strong of a word, but a solid inclusion. I think her character works well to promote the enjoyability of the show.
Yeah, I didn't think she was bad. She's definitely my least favorite member of the student council, but I thought the sentimental stuff kind of worked for me, and it made sense, like who she was, and I love the moment where Shirogane like steps up and like they have the debate on stage.
Yeah.
That
was great.
Yeah. That is the first, well, not the first, but the biggest to that point example of. I mean, we're jumping all over the place now, but of good guy Shirogane. Like the idea that Shirogane is just like, at his core, an incredibly wholesome and caring individual, where he's just I literally can't stand here and watch this girl suffer. I'm gonna go debate her on stage, even though it's gonna worsen my chances of winning. Like I'm literally gonna go save her ass, even though she's my direct competitor. And if I do nothing, I'll win in a freaking landslide. And if I do something, then the only benefit is her feelings. And so that's like such an insanely selfless thing to do of him.
Yeah, and it displayed like the great writing. Like I already knew it had great comedic writing, but then when they tie in her character and her struggle with Ishigami and how he knew what it felt like to be like, ostracized and like be a loner. Yep. And then they show his episode later of why he understands that. I was like, they're actually making like a good drama show inside this comedy, and it's all working. I was like, dang, like the Ishigami episode, I don't know if we want to jump to it, but that was like one of my favorite episodes.
We definitely can. I want to do a deep dive there. So if you're ready,
I'm
ready.
The second to last episode of season 2 is one of my favorites. Easy.
Yeah.
I did not expect that at all. It was nuts.
It was insane to me because it's all comedy, it's all lighthearted, it's all crazy stuff. And then you hear about in the episode previous, like way before, like season 1, there's a scene where Kaguya is tutoring him, and there's like girls in the library, and they're like, you shouldn't really get yourself involved with Ishigami, whatever. And that was a dope Kaguya moment where she's like just death staring these girls, and she's like, you think I'm a shitty judge of character? You think I don't know what the fuck I'm doing? Get the fuck out of my face. And it's like, hell yeah, Kaguya, stand up for that, man. You're a fucking baller. So that was dope. So they give that backstory, that like inkling of like he's unpopular for some sort of reason, not just because he's like weird or like an otaku or whatever. And then in episode 10 of season 2, they they reveal the rumor of like, I heard he attacked or like assaulted the boyfriend of the girl he was in love with, is like the story that gets passed down.
A stalker. Yeah.
And then episode 11, we get the whole story, which was like, that's what I was saying, is so fucking intense. It's all lighthearted. It's all like sexual misunderstanding. It's all innocent to a degree. It's all whatever. And then all of a sudden there's like intense bullying, kitty / like child / revenge porn, like blackmail, like it was, and then like a fist fight where he was like trying to destroy the guy's face. It's like they just jumped to that, and I was like, holy shit! Like it improved the character of Ishigami fucking tenfold. It was like it was, because he's technically in the right, but he handled it terribly, and then ends up on suspension. And then what I said about Shirogane going up on stage to debate Miko, that's so far the peak example of good guy Shirogane. But Shirogane takes the fucking presidency, goes out of his goddamn way to do the groundwork, to find all the evidence, to prove that Ishigami was in the right, that whatever her boyfriend that was cheating on her was like completely in the wrong and like had revenge porn and all this stuff, and like completely clears his name, and then gives him literally like almost physically drags him out of his like depressive reality. And I was like, holy fuck, you literally just turned this kid's life around entirely, like just by being the most wholesome individual on the planet. And then there's other stuff with the eyes, but I wanted with the eyes and the way they draw the characters that episode, but I wanted to hear more about your guys' thoughts, because I've been talking.
It was I mean, as one of my favorite episodes, I just kept thinking of what it would mean to someone in any kind of situation, even close to that. Like because even in season 1, it's like he's an otaku and he's quiet, and it's like he thinks he knows everything, but then when Shirogane asks for advice, he's just like an idiot with girls. Like he doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's like, oh, he's like a real life otaku. Like he doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah. And then
a real life otaku.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, so that's like the realistic character. But then when you go into like why everything happened, bruh, freaking.
For those in the audience, before you get into it, what is an otaku?
It's like a Japanese word for nerd that is like even more stigmatized. Like no life, you stay at home all the time. Like you're into like anime and manga a ton, and stuff like
games.
That.
Yeah, it's basically that you stay at home all day and you don't go out and you don't socialize. You're just a loner. And it's very hermit would be a good word. It's characterized usually by like an obsession with manga and anime and video games and stuff like that. It's that's basically
and. Dang, man. That was just crazy. When he was beating that dude up and he's like, bruh, like he's in the wrong.
Slugging him.
I'm going to make it so, what did he say? Like, no one will ever look at this face ever
want
again.
Want to look at you, approach you, whatever he said, Fuck, I had a thought.
How do you feel about that?
He doesn't defend himself, like, at all. Like, he doesn't say, I think it was made clear that they didn't want, I don't know if it was I think the guy that he was beating the shit out of said, yo, she doesn't want your pity. She doesn't want everyone's pity. You're going to destroy her life if you say that I'm cheating on her. So it was kind of manipulating him to not expose what he was doing to her. Yep. And I just thought it was interesting that he didn't defend himself. He just said like, oh, I'm in the right. You have no idea. Like you should leave this guy. And he doesn't say anything in his defense. He just kind of accepts his fate as being ostracized.
Which usually I would hate it if they didn't say anything for no reason. But the fact that the dude is like, I'm going to share revenge porn and I'm going to start beating her up if you say stuff about her. And it's like, you can't say anything. So I was like, dang, that's actually a good reason for it. And then,
that was like, that shit set we talked about it getting serious. That shit set my teeth on edge when he's got like his arm around her shoulder and he's showing him like the nudes or whatever of this underage girl. And he's like, and he's talking about like, it could get so much worse for her. I was like, fuck, like, oh my God, what a fucking prick.
Yeah, and then man, that whole episode is it's all focused on that, and then finally, like, you think it's completed when he's like, I love when Shirogane is like, this is the freaking note you should write. And he's like, go to hell, dumbass, and it's like, and then he says that to the girl and just starts running, and it's like,
the girl was dude, that was hilarious.
That's easily a top 10 moment in the show. He goes, Uruse baka. It's just like, get your fucking shit rocked. Like, she literally just came just to make him feel bad about something that happened years ago, and he just pulls out the line that Shirogane gave him, and I was like, yes, the student council getting it fucking done. Absolutely. Let's get this bread.
And then you think he's gonna win the race, and it's like, dang, he loses. And then
I honestly, I didn't think he was going to win, but there was a small inkling that was like, maybe he might pull it out. But I think they did well not making him.
They
win.
do very well with that.
And then it's like a further lesson in that episode of like in the previous stuff, he's like, oh, so this is what normies are like. And then in that episode, it's just beautiful. Like they don't have faces up until that point, like that entire club. And then it like draws in their faces finally. It's like, oh, normies can be genuinely good people. And like, they're real people. And like, that's such a lesson that you don't get in a lot of stuff. It reminds me of like the Body Improvement Club in Mob Psycho, where it's like, like you can, it's not like, nerds and bullies, like, back in the freaking 80s or whatever, like those stupid movies that are so stereotypical. It's like, you can sort of open yourself up and there are a lot of good people and a lot of good kids around you. And maybe it would be like, an otaku could learn from that in a certain way. Like,
I thought it was also a funny line when he first joins it, and he's like, he realizes that joining the club doesn't make you a normie, but only normies join the club.
That was hilarious. I can relate to that so much. Like, man, I would be so like some of the bigger clubs I was in high school just for like credit. I was like, dang, I'm just sitting here.
Yeah,
and then
totally not the demographic of the rest of the group.
Yeah, it's funny.
The line he says when he looks up is like, "Oh, I guess genuine normies can be genuinely nice," which was nice. But there's a whole load of symbolism in that episode with the eyes and the faces, and the idea of like that he's not looking at people's faces and not bothering to remember them because they're not important to him because he believes he's not important to anyone else, basically.
Also because he was very fearful.
Yeah,
they also touched on that.
He's exactly. And so like he's basically averse to even like thinking, even like looking people in the eyes and like remembering their faces. But the entire episode, the girl whose boyfriend he beat up, that he like whatever, that girl always has eyes. And I take that as like because she's the only person whose face he can't forget. Like, because at some point, like throughout the episode, even Kaguya and Shirogane like lose and regain their eyes depending on his like fluctuating mental state. But she always has her eyes. It's the one face he can't forget. It like haunts him. So then when he's like in line and freaking no one has eyes and he's like about to get the relay, and Shirogane comes up and he's like, he ties the headband and he's like, "Go get him, motherfucker!" And then that's when he delivers the "Go to hell, dumbass" line, and that was such a gorgeous episode. My God,
it
was great.
Absolutely.
The last episode didn't even feel like a closer at all until like the last hit where they were playing the balloon game, which is great because I could take a whole season of them doing Fujiwara's board games because that shit is so funny to me. That whole like 8-minute sequence when they're just blowing the shit up, and then no one blows it up, but then the tangerine just completely explodes, and then it kills off the whole school.
Because they all do and then that ties that whole thing. Then I was like displeased with it the first time I watched it as like as a closer for season 2 of that show, but with season 3 confirmed and like definitely coming, and the way that it then, because the school exploding in a bomb of pink smoke and then the school being left in ruins afterwards is the entire intro of season 1, so it all ties back together like that. And so that's like a nice, it wasn't like I wanted something to happen in the relationship, some sort of development, some sort of whatever.
I definitely did.
I expected it.
But I also wouldn't have wanted them to like schedule a date or something, like they ask each other out or whatever, and then you have to wait then the 2 years or however long it's going to be until season 3 comes out to like see how that goes. But also I'm down for more games to be played because the games are what makes the shit so enjoyable. That episode was hilarious when they were like, they all give like monologues in their head, like I think it's Shirogane is like, And my dad always, the one thing I took away from my dad, the one good thing he taught me was to always be a man who can protect his woman or something like that. And he's like, I'm gonna do it, and then he just pumps it once and like scoots away. It's like, oh my god. And then Kaguya does the whole same thing about the honor of the Shinomiya family and all that good stuff. It's like they all go back and forth.
It was like perfect. It was like the best display of just perfect comedic timing, because it would be like the narrator was like, he remembered his father's words, and then completely forgot him, and it's like the instant he does that, it's like he just runs away. And then, or like even Ishigami, it's like, I had the freaking whole arc of the cheerleading squad, like I have no fear anymore. They do like the crazy anime lights behind him, and then he just goes one pump, and it's like the cheerleading arc was for nothing. He just runs away.
Freaking
bro, that shit's so good. They do that over and over again, man. That's Alex,
the dad is so funny, because like there was like that one episode where he like calls him on the phone, and the dad answers. He's like, "Can I talk to Shirogane?" He's like, "This is Shirogane.
This is Shirogane."
You have to use our first names.
And then his dad is so fucking cool. There's a sad but funny moment when he's like just drinking at the table or whatever, and Shirogane is like, "Just sign the papers and get the divorce over with already." And you're like, "Shit," but also, but I don't know.
He walks into that I think that same episode, and he's like, "Yo, what's wrong? You know, I think you have relationship problems, right?" And he's like, "No, it's not like that." And then they start talking like that, and his dad sits on the table. He's like, "Talk to me. I'm your sugar daddy."
Yeah. Oh my god, bro!
Don't ever say that.
And he was like, "Don't ever say that again." That shit was funny as hell. Yeah.
I know we talked about the season 2 kind of ending, but how did you feel about the season 1 ending transitioning to season 2? Because I remember watching it as season 1 was ending, and it was like the last episode, and if you remember, they're like, is he chasing her or she's chasing him? There's like a chase. They're like chasing it.
It's him chasing her through the hall, right?
Yeah, the fireworks. You're talking about the fireworks episode?
No, it's like when the credits are rolling and the music's playing, they're like running through the school, kind of.
I believe it's him chasing her.
Yeah, and then it's like, but then at that moment, I'm like,
"What's him chasing her?" Yeah,
something crazy is gonna happen now, and then nothing happens, and then it's just like an outro, and then nothing ever comes of it.
Interesting. I don't remember that.
I don't know. I fully enjoyed the last episode of season 1. I thought it was probably my favorite episode of there, because it breaks the mold. And it just allows them to be emotionally vulnerable with each other, instead of it being, so distant and, playing games the whole time.
Yeah.
And then it bites them in the ass when, like, the first half of it is so, like, emotionally vulnerable and serious. And then after the fireworks, she's all weirded out about it. Mm-hmm. And then it just bites him in the ass. Yeah, it just bites him in the ass for that. But like, he's like, "Yo, I said so many cringeworthy lines."
When he's polishing the window, he's like,
yeah,
he's like literally light speed polishing the window.
Times. Yeah, I fucking adore that little animation that they have with his hands. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah, that shit was good. I mean, I love that episode because the whole escapade of like, her like finally escaping the house,
having to break out of the house.
Hayasaka, best wingman in the universe, by the way.
That's
like
true.
Literally could not do more. Like, she has done 99% of the work in getting them closer. Like bar none, no doubt, no cap. Like
at the beginning of season 2, where she's blocking them from, like, she can't let anyone in the student council room, and she like jumps up and smashes the drone with the freaking baseball and whatever.
Yeah, like
that was just nuts.
Like fucking just runs up the wall like another show we know that I won't mention for spoilers. If you know, you know. But just runs up the wall, grabs the baseball from going through the window, and like snipes the drone. That shit was nuts, And that she's doing all sorts of, and she throws the bone for Peisu for Chika's dog, and it just tears down the street, just dragging Chika behind it. Oh, that was a dope sequence. But the episode
with the episode, that moment when she's trying to figure out how to use Twitter. Yeah. And she keeps interrupting her bath. I felt so bad for her because she just wants to relax and like not have to worry about her responsibilities. And then she's just like trying to soak in the hot tub, and homegirl just comes up, "Oh, you blocked me. What happened?" And then his account is just private.
It's just a private account, bro. Yeah, she's just like, she's Kaguya just becomes the most like ignorantly selfish person on the planet.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to.
Yeah. Today's battle result.
Circle back to some more Hayasaka love because one of my favorite
She's
characters. She's the best.
Yeah.
But the episode 12, the season finale of season 1, Hayasaka Best Wingman taking her place, mimicking her voice to get the butler to go away. And then she, Kaguya runs away. She gets stuck in traffic, runs to the fireworks, and then doesn't make the fireworks. And you're like, oh, damn. And then Shirogane, in classic rom-com fashion, finds her and takes her and spends $170 on a cab to take her to the next fireworks show. And when he's polishing the windows, they show like there's a graphic of like the events of the night, if I can speak the English language. And it's one of the ones is like spent 17,000 yen, which translates to $170 on that cab fare. And he had set it aside as a like, in case I do anything with Kaguya over the summer fund. And then they obviously never saw each other, so he spends it all in one go on the cab fare to the next like city over for their fireworks display.
So romantic.
I think not only is like the whole window washing thing funny, but it's also so relatable because like he's like cringing at himself.
Yep.
Sometimes you cringe at something that you said, like, oh.
They even show him like in his bedroom or whatever. It's actually like on the other side of the sheet from his bedroom or whatever, and you can see his little sister like being pissed off about it.
Yeah.
But he's just like a bunch of lines that will haunt him for years to come, and he's just like cringing his own head off underneath his pillow. It's like, it's so fucking relatable. I actually wrote down a bunch of the stuff because I talked about when I did it on top 10 about how I loved how on point, like literally needlepoint precision of the realism was, and but we can circle back to that later on.
It's just it's throughout the show. I mean, it's just so relatable, and they use like real emotions that like high schoolers and people feel just to like just play it up to like perfully.
All right, I guess I can do it.
Did y'all catch the Thomas the Train transition?
Yes, dude. Yes,
absolutely.
Fucking love those. And
they do,
that and the biplane when they just turn into biplanes. And they're shooting each other down. That was fucking awesome.
That was the planes was one of the moments of Chika's like blissful ignorance of like not knowing what the fuck is like. They keep on passing each other, wanting to talk to each other, and she's just like, "Oh, we're making shapes," and she just starts doing shit with them, like just thinking they're doing it for no reason. And so she just starts doing it for no reason. That's something she does a lot.
They have elite level transition, and like the end of episode stuff with the Chika dance, which is like one of the biggest example. Like this show is memed like crazy, which makes sense because of all the expressions and like the phrases they say. But that's just, I love when shows just have a ton of fun with random stuff that you don't expect. The
end of season 3 or season 3. Hello, the end of episode 3 of season 1. They paid whatever animator a double his rate or something probably to put that in. I guess you could estimate that animes probably runs at like 15 FPS or something like that, and the Chika dance was probably like 30 FPS. And so the thing you notice the most is that they put so much effort into animating every part of her hair and her clothes, which is like something that like you basically don't have the budget for in anime to like to give the skirts and hair and everything very realistic physics all the time, because it would just, you wouldn't get the show done. But they just like in this one instance with this fun little song and dance, just like dole out dope like high quality animation, and she does her whole little song and dance, and it's really fun. She doesn't really say anything, it's just like a little song about her being love detective Chika and the mysteries of the student council and everything. But yeah,
the whole
it was
song,
so fun.
She goes ham.
She goes hard. She goes hard as fuck. Yeah,
she does.
This is fun.
Yeah, she starts killing it.
It's dope. Yeah.
What about the Chika scene where she's in the ramen shop?
That was that's like so unimportant to literally everything that goes on in the show. But if it wasn't in the show, like if that got taken out and I somehow knew, I would be pissed because that's a good fucking scene. That shit's so.
Yeah, that dude was mad. That dude was mad creepy.
It
like
just sets
scoping
up
her out the whole time, but.
Yeah,
the whole like he was just like it was like a tug of war between himself whether or not he should respect her as a ramen consumer. It was in the show, and she just comes in and with the optimal concoction that she orders, and then he's like, okay, so let's see how she eats mini ramen.
Yeah,
and she's just like eating it with the spoon instead of the stick, and then she puts the fucking garlic in it, and he just like nuts right there.
He's like, she's overcome the ultimate barrier of womanhood, which apparently women hate garlic in Japan, but I don't know.
Dang.
But anyway,
what were you saying, Alex?
That was hilarious. The one
she must be one of the 4 street bosses of ramen.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like
speaking of that, the fucking cab driver is one of the ramen kings.
He's one of the 4.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like it sets up this whole side universe that exists, but they don't like educate you on. They just like throw you into where it's just like the 4 ramen kings of the metro, and it's like and one of them is like even blacked out. They like don't know the person's like visage or whatever, and she's like, could she be on par? Yeah, that was such a good freaking scene, man. Because the what just got memed over and over and over again was, could this woman be one of my people? Like, so
Chika's probably my it's so hard. She's probably my favorite to just watch. Like she's so incredibly cute, and just her facial expressions alone, the way like her voice actor just fucking kills it, man. She's so cute.
Yeah.
Whenever she just has her eyes like shut tight and she's got her like like the little shit that she does.
God,
it's so cute.
She has all those freaking moments. There's the one where it's like it's raining and they need to go home or whatever, and like Fujiwara, she's like, no, the thunder will get my belly button. and then there's a whole sequence where Kaguya like leads her out and she's covering her eyes and ears, and she's just like, this is kind of scary, but it's kind of fun. It's just like she has all those moments where she's just like so go with the flow, but like, and she has those moments too where she's like scary Chika, like she dons like that, where they're the first instance is when is actually one of the first impressions you get of Chika is when they're debating sea versus mountain vacation for the summer, like very early on in the thing. And then Kaguya realizes that Fujiwara's got way bigger.
She has boobs,
yeah. And so she's like, fuck, we have to go to the mountains. And then Shiragane's like afraid of the bugs, so he's like, we have to go to the water. We have to go to the sea, even though I can't swim.
Swim.
That was an early dynamic that they set up really well. But yeah, she's like. They're like, Chika will choose, and then she's like, I want to go to this mountain that has all these spirits, and we can get a medium to bring a spirit back from the dead, and there's pinwheels, and it's like it sets up like this horrifying like black and white like scenery. It's like Chika gets scary. And then her little sister too. They have a little bit there where that's like almost not even worth mentioning, but they're like walking on the street when Kaguya finally goes out shopping, and she's like, isn't she so cute? I'd like to lock her in a basement and keep her there forever. It was just like, wait a second.
They're just agents of chaos.
I would say that's like another criticism. That's another criticism I have of the dub of like, because Fujiwara's voice acting in Japanese has like such an innocence to the character that this is not the same in the English.
Yeah.
Dang.
So it's just like, this character is not as innocent in the English version, which takes away from her a lot because that's her
entire shtick. Yeah, is that she's innocent until she's not.
Yeah, exactly.
But speaking of innocence, another great moment of the show is when Shinomiya doesn't know what first time means. Yeah, so she's and like,
bro,
she's like, yeah, I do it with my nephew. Yeah, Chika probably does it with her dog.
Yeah, it was like Shiragane, you have a sister. I bet you two do it all the time. Yeah. And then it was like, and then Chika has a dog. I bet you do it all the time. And then it was like, I did it to my newborn nephew. It was videotaped. Yeah. It was like, bro.
So insane.
That shit was so good. Yeah.
Or that
she has a lot of moments like that.
One scene where she's sick. She's sick and Shirogane comes to visit her.
Yeah.
and he goes in the room and he stays with her, but he like he so desperately wants to leave because the situation is getting
in her bedroom.
really,
that was one of the best episodes. That shit walks in the door. What are you doing? She's like holding a pair of scissors with like her entire room spread out around her, and she's like,
Yeah.
I want fireworks. It's like, whoa, like they weren't joking. Like she's an actual infant in terms of mental maturity when she's sick like that. And so that was a whole
They check the sheets after he's gone. They're like,
yeah, for cum.
Yeah. It was like after an inspection of the scene, it was found that there could be nothing proven of any of Shiragane's wrongdoing. But then they have that whole arc after, which is like as an all-male podcast, we can dive into the female brain here with execute authority,
right.
Obviously. But they do that whole thing where Kaguya is like offended that he would have touched her, but then also upset that he didn't do anything because she likes him, and it was a whole thing. Obviously, that's a whole dynamic that only exists when you're very attracted to the person already. But that was like, and then they have that cute little moment where he's like, I think I just tapped you on the lips, and then she's like, we're even. She like does it to him.
Yeah,
that
she
was
does
cute
it.
as fuck.
His face is so adorable too when he does.
His blush. Yeah, the amount of blush drawn onto these characters
that they do.
Is like, it's like 50% of the show.
All the
it's
time.
So funny.
All the time.
It's so good. Yeah.
All the time.
Oh man.
I wanted to bring up. I was going to transition out of through the Chika discussion. Was the 3 training arcs we get with Chika and Shirogane, the first of which being the volleyball arc, which was so goddamn funny. I've seen it multiple times. I want to hear you guys' first impressions on that.
I mean, I didn't even realize it was a meme until y'all like brought it up. I thought it was a fun scene, but I didn't realize it was like so highly regarded in terms of the show.
Yeah. No, it's dope because that whole one of the things is like they're training super hard. Like obviously the slapstick to begin with is the fact that he's literally hitting himself in the back of the head trying to frickin' hit a volleyball.
Just trying to serve.
And then beyond that they train, and he's like, and there's a moment in the middle of the training is when frick, I can find it. But I think she says like Chika says to Shirogane, she's like, President, I think that's enough. I think you're at the level I think you're good enough to be at the level of someone who just kind of sucks at it. Compared to when you were a creature, you're way better now.
Yeah.
And then the ultimate culmination is when she goes, the meme that you were talking about, Trevor, is that she goes, I raised that boy, when he like is finally performing well when it comes time to actually be in the game. And that I said this to you guys last night when we were on the call, is that like the mother versus mom is like Okasa versus Haha in English and I mean it's probably not exactly 1-to-1, but that's how I understand it. And so essentially the slang for mother in Japanese is Haha. And so she says I raised that boy, and then just immediately they translate it as like you're his mother, but she just goes ha. Yeah. And that the pitch and the tonality of that, where she just like freaks out, she's like what the fuck, and they draw her face like super blank and like confused. That was a great moment for me. And then obviously we have the singing one where she's like I'm not that bad, and then he's like, you lied to me, you bastard. Like,
you are fucking awful and trash. You should never use your vocals for anything.
Yeah. It's so good. And they have like the music room, they have like Beethoven and I forget, it's like some other composer. And like when he starts singing, that like the portraits are offended, and then they will get happier later.
Yeah,
it's so over the top. And then like he's just, he was so bad. And then when he's like, when he can finally sing, it's like, it's actually a touching moment. She's like proud of him, and it's like
bawling on stage.
Was that the only one that was that the only one that was singing along? Like whenever they tried to keep one pitch, like she was like, all right, hit this note. Yeah, he couldn't do it. I sang along.
I think Chika has like perfect pitch too, so she's like immensely frustrated with his inability to understand notes and everything. But yeah, she has another moment.
You're not even trying.
Another like I'm his mother moment when she's like bawling on the stage, and I think Kaguya comes up to her and she just like crawls over and she's like, I'm so proud of him. It's such a good moment. And then the last one, obviously, the last one was actually one that I wrote down as being one of the funniest like win-loss cards, because I think we actually haven't talked about that yet, is how dope it is, how much I love the mechanic of after every chapter, after every section of every episode, they declare a winner loser. Or tie in some cases, and sometimes it's like the situation goes so awry that it's like it's like everyone but Fujiwara wins or whatever. It's like like the dynamics they do are really hilarious there. But they at the end of it, they it's the Sohan dance, I think, which is like the traditional Japanese dance, and Fujiwara's trying to teach him, and then she gives up, and then he's like, I'm still having trouble doing this to Kaguya, and then she starts teaching him, and then that's another part of Scary Chika, is she just like sits down in the chair with the black background, and she's like, no, if anything, I'm just surprised you exchanged one teacher for a new one so quickly. It's like she's just like got the like deadpan eyes, and you're like, holy shit, I would not fuck with her. But he gets pulled back and forth, and then like discovers like, oh, this is what it feels like to be the fishing net. But the card for who wins is Shirogane wins, and then in parentheses it's like, because for a little bit he got to feel like what it would be like to be in a harem. It's like having girls like pulling him every which way. It's so funny. A lot of the cards are like very, very on point. Very like they show them for all of like 2 seconds, and it's you got to read fast, like Trevor was saying. A lot of them add a lot of value to the show for sure. That is another one was the other one I noticed for the win-loss panels was after they did the win-loss panel. It was the episode where he only gives them two pieces of cake. The president gives the student council 2 pieces of cake, and then they have the fucking 10-minute battle of like who will eat the cake. And after all that happens, they show a picture of the headmaster of the school, and it just goes war criminal. They just brand him a war criminal for what he did to the student council.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I think one more really memorable thing that was really funny to me was in the first season, and they have the they have like the foreign exchange students come in from like France or whatever, and then the freaking chick is just like absolutely destroying him in French, but he has no idea what she's saying. He
just doesn't speak French, so he's just standing there like oui, oh. We, and she's like, the headmaster. You're gonna say, go ahead. The headmaster's just like, Shirogane is unfazed. The best. Whereas, like, if this was me, I would be on my knees begging for forgiveness, like all this shit. And then badass Kaguya walks over and just shreds the French girl in her native language. The girl known for shredding people gets shredded by Kaguya in her not her native language. It's just like god damn.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that they used the little kid meme where he says wow, and it's usually accompanied with like sparkling however you would sound effect. They use that for when they're talking about underwear, that one episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think it shows. Yeah. It just shows a picture of underwear, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that from anime? I can't like. That's
I think it originally is. Yeah. I don't know if a studio did it first, but that's definitely the first place I saw it and where I see it the most. So I don't know if it originated there or not, but it definitely is.
I've only heard it in this one. So when I heard it, I was like,
yeah.
Oh.
It's used a fuckload in Fairy Tail. In Fairy Tail, they use it a lot. Yeah. But in that same vein, that brings us straight to the sound effects and the music were on point for every occasion. They would like the transitions in and out of like when they would do like intense battles and then flatter each other, so it would be like intense battle music and then switch to like super soft dainty piano when she's like blushing or he's blushing or whatever, and then it goes straight back in, and then all the sound effects obviously were great and on point and well designed, and it's just that element of any show just like is the ribbon on top for me for everything when it's that good. It's like it's like a holistic experience of you're not just watching the characters, you're also like being essentially inundated with all this other good content. So that was something that I definitely give
your
very high praise.
Your senses are being treated.
Yeah,
for sure.
To the show, I give very high praise for that.
Yeah.
I think there's two other moments in the show that I wanted to bring up before I forget. One being the arcade fight that they have when she develops her calming ritual. And she can't use it because he's like holding her hand, and then she just completely judos the shit out of him and fucking knocks him out.
Yeah, she literally judo throws his ass. Like that's not like a meme. Like she actually just fucking throws him to the ground, like in canon. That was so funny. But yeah, it was like it sets up the whole health bars, and it's like if Kaguya's love meter goes above 10, she loses, and she's like maxed out at 30 for like the longest time. Just throws his ass.
And then when they're talking about the manga, and he kind of sees it as an opportunity to get her to confess her love to him, and so they give it to her, and she's like, nah, I'm not really a manga person. And then Chika just comes in, and she's like, oh, it's so great, and she starts spoiling it. So they duct tape her mouth shut, and then they proceed to talk about spoilers, and then they both get their mouths
get duct tape,
and Miko comes in like, what the fuck are y'all doing?
With all of them doing fucking like BDSM in the student council room. She's like,
it's such like current like humor about like spoilers and stuff. It's so good. And just one of my most hilarious moments to me that was like it's kind of related is when they're like playing the Switch in the student council room.
Yeah.
And then like first of all they do the Mario Kart parody. I forget what it's called, but Marine Kart. So close.
Yeah.
God, how did you not get struck by Nintendo? But then, with the pictures of them taking like the goofy pictures, Kaguya doesn't know what the frick's going on, and she's like, "Okay, and then she's taking a goofy picture," and it's like she's like dying inside. And they're like, "Why would you ask us to do that?"
Yeah,
that killed me, bro.
There's so many other moments like that. I think absolutely one of my favorite moments in the show. I want to say it happens before the fight conversation, the like video game fight conversation with the calming ritual. But it's the whole sequence where he like they have that whole scene in the where they both think they've locked each other into the like storeroom, the gym storeroom, and they have their almost kiss, which is like a super cute like rom-com scene. Like that was a great scene in terms of the romance version of the romance side of the show. And then Miko finally comes along and opens the door, and she like makes herself out to be a rape victim. And I was like yikes.
That was like, really, really bad. I felt so bad.
I was like,
because it looked awful. Because she just dashes to the front door, and she's like, "Oh, I was so scared."
Yeah,
yeah.
That was insane. So anyway, they have that intense moment, which was a cool scene, a fun scene. And then the day after or whatever, he like takes a piece of lint out of her hair, and she's like so like sensitive to that she literally faints at his touch in her hair. And so she faints. They take her to the hospital to her like world-renowned like top 5 doctor or whatever, and they run all these tests and everything. And I gotta find the exact quote, but like they run all these tests and everything, and homie basically just comes out and says, "I diagnose you with tsundere."
That's what the kids are calling it nowadays.
When they literally said it in the show, I was like, God damn. I mean, what he actually says obviously is like that he's like, yeah, you're just love struck, like you're just like so deeply in love, because it's like she shows him pictures and like has him talk about him, and her BPM goes up to 200, which is like literally outrageous. And then but yeah, they say and then the nurse is like heart rate increasing or whatever, and Hayasaka is just in the side room dying, and she's one of the best lines in the show to me is please stop using the latest technology to expose my mistress's emotions.
I was gonna bring that up.
She's just like dying of humiliation, and she's like, please stop. It was such a line. Oh man.
Yep.
It was absolutely
that's great.
It's quite a funny show.
It's hilarious.
I will have to ask, what did you guys prefer, season 1 or season 2?
Good question.
1, absolutely.
2,
definitely not even close for me.
Definitely 2. Those last. I mean, I get that in that you think Miko's a super weak character, which I can't.
It's really not even that. I mean, well, yeah, it obviously is.
Because it's got a lot of focus on her as a season, yeah.
It's just, it had lightning in a bottle in the first season. Like, it was...
That's fair, yeah.
Incredibly unique.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to choose, absolutely. Like, that's...
Yeah. It's
tough. And I thought about it preparing for that question.
It's like... It's almost like me preferring Sorcerer's Stone from any other books in the series. Just because it sets the tonality for the rest of the series, Like season 3 could be fucking phenomenal, and I probably still wouldn't like it more than season 1. It's just like a kind of like a curse, but
yeah, that makes sense to a degree.
Yeah, I would have said like at the beginning of season 2, I was thinking it wouldn't be as good as 1, but then with the stuff it like getting deeper at the end, then it brought it.
Yeah, the last few episodes. Yeah,
and I thought it was slightly better just because it gets a little deeper, like, but yeah. They're both
and that's
great.
not to say either season is weak at all. No, I think they both carry their weight in very separate ways.
Absolutely.
I think
they definitely flesh it out.
Yeah. I think season 2 succeeds phenomenally in that you already have all the established characters and their characteristics and all the developments and how they, treat each other and interact and all that. And then they go much deeper into obviously Ishigami's story. Oh, hello. Ishigami's story. For the most part, but they develop a lot of the deeper parts of their character and develop there's I was mentioning earlier, they talk about well, I mean, this isn't deepening of character, but I guess I'm done with that point. But essentially it made me think of the stargazing scene in, I think it's in season 2. Yeah, it's definitely in season 2, I think early on, and he's so obsessed with stars and with the stories and everything that he accidentally does all of the perfect romantic things where he's just like, she's plotting against him. She's like, I'm going to get him to give her my coat. And he just goes like, it's cold out here. Here, have this. And like just drops his coat on her. And then and then she's like, oh, I'll get him to like be infatuated with me with his love of the stars or whatever. And she's like, could you tell me about the Great Square Pegasus or whatever? And he's like, yes, come here. And he like pulls her close, and she's just like freaking the fuck out the entire time. And he just accidentally does all the perfect stuff. But then that ends like as so many of their romantic situations do, where she just like runs away screaming as if he's just like offended her horribly. And then that, sets back their progress over and over again.
But it is.
I am anxiously awaiting season 3.
Same.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is coming out. Is it coming out this year?
Supposed to be. That's what it was confirmed to do. So
nice.
They've been doing it every year. Like it came out in 2019, and they did one last year, and then now they're doing it this year. So
yeah, I think it's either going to be fall or winter. Supposedly, there's an OVA that's supposed to come out before that.
Yeah,
I heard about that.
I'll find that somehow because I don't think Crunchyroll really doesn't upload those. So I don't know. I'll try to find that one way or another. We'll see if they do take it on, or well, they wouldn't because it's Funimation now. But anyway.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I wanted to.
If you haven't seen Love Is War, please go watch it.
Yeah. If we're wrapping up, I wanted to talk about a couple of the realism bits that I mentioned earlier of like how much I love how on point everything is, where them freaking out about like sending getting each other's contact information right, and then it cycles into like sending the first text or calling, and neither of them will do it. Like I felt that was like super realistic of like love struck teens, all that good stuff. One of the ones I loved absolutely was they're supposed to meet up or whatever for the first time, and it's like pouring rain. And they show Kaguya first, and she's like, I think Hayasaka says like he's probably not out there or whatever, and he goes out there and stands in the rain with the magazine over his head or whatever, and he gets a text from Kaguya, and he's like out in the fucking pouring rain, probably got a long ass walk or train ride home, whatever. Yeah. He's just soaked to the bone, and he's like, well, I got a text, so this goes in the win column. It's like that was like I was like, I feel that, bro. Like if I was crushing on a girl this hard, and I was like, that's like your first crush, your first real romantic interaction with the opposite sex, and you're like trying to get the ball rolling, like you're soaked to the bone in the rain, but you get a text, you get your first text, you're like, that's a W for the day. We take those. We take
mad relatable.
Yeah.
Speaking of having to go like places and like transportation, and him riding the bike is like so wholesome to me. I don't know what it is, but he just vigorously rides that shit. And there's one episode where he catches up to her being late to class one day because she wanted to be adventurous and didn't want to take the fucking car there.
Well, she was gonna try to find him, but then she gets sidetracked by the little girl who's lost, and then they end up running into each other anyway.
Yeah, and he's just like, yo, Shinomiya, you're gonna be late, and then she get on the fucking bike, let's go.
He's like, I've never been late. He's like, and then she's like, he literally says out loud, like, two people on a bike is fine. Like school rules trump traffic rules. He's like, get the fuck on the bike. And so they tear through the streets like that. The shared umbrella strat. The idea of pretending to forget your umbrella or whatever.
They both forgot.
I never pretended to forget my umbrella, but I always remembered it just in case the cutie in the class, the calculus class that I failed. Go check out New Beginnings or whatever that episode was that I talked about my college experience.
New chapter.
The new chapter, that one. I was like, in case this girl, in case it starts raining, because you all live in Florida, anyone who hasn't been to Florida won't know. It can rain just like literally on the drop of a fucking dime. Like it'll say 30% chance of rain, and then it'll just like downpour for 15 minutes and then be gone. So if you're walking out of class, it's been sunny all day. If I have my umbrella with me, hey, I'll walk you back to the dorm. Like that's literally something that I've planned to do. It never went that way, but oh well, her loss.
The classic.
One time my way, like I was walking and we were standing there in the rain, and then I was like, I don't have anything, so I'm like, what do I have to do? I have to seem cool, so I took my backpack and I'm like, frick it, and I just walk with my backpack over my head, just keep walking.
There's a picture there's a picture that I posted of Rocio and I at Disney. We were on the Seven Dwarves roller coasters ride, and it poured like a motherfucker the entire time we were in the line, and they were still going with the ride. Like there was no lightning in the area, so they were still running it. So we rode it in the pouring rain, and I had my fucking Under Armour backpack that I had, and you can see us at the end when they photograph you that we're just sitting in the rain like this under the fucking bag, getting completely drenched.
My God,
that's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's Florida, baby.
Maybe the most realistic part of the entire series, for me anyway, speaking from my experience, is Ishigami buying a brand new game and playing it, procrastinating instead of studying when he needs to be studying for exams, and he's playing games instead. That hit me right in the heart. I felt that one for sure.
Yes, our gamer king for sure.
Rise up, gamers.
Right.
Rise up, gamer.
Yeah. And then
I think there's.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say another funny ass moment was when they had to determine what they were gonna call him after he was no longer the president.
Yes,
and she's fretting over a nickname, and they called him Miyu and all this kind of shit. And Chika says something, and she just calls her a whore in her head. Like, she's so goddamn funny.
She's like, she says something about like, are all women this so frivolous nowadays? And it's like, but the thing she says too is she's like, I would not be made out to be such a wanton hussy as to call him by his first name. It's like you've known him for a year and a half. It's so fucking funny. Or I guess just a year, but I don't know. But yeah, that was hilarious when then it's just like several stabs to the chest when Fujiwara gets up and she's like, "Do you want coffee, Miyuki? Do you want iced or hot, Miyuki?" And she uses his name every sentence, and she's just like repeatedly getting like shot. It's so good. Because that's that whole thing, especially being brought up like in essentially Japanese nobility, like talking out of formality is like not in her bones like at all, so it's like such a hurdle for her. It's so funny. Also the essentially the childishness or the like immature romanticism of like the idea of just driving, just offering someone a ride counts as a date. Like that's something, that's a thought that I like kind of would have had like at their age or whatever. Probably younger, but the idea of like, going on a car ride with someone, like that's a intimate space, an intimate moment. It can be anyway. So that was like the fact that they treated that so intensely was hilarious to me. because it would have been kind of the same way I treated it in that situation. And then the social media one we already called. The how fast the I'm asking for a friend. I'm not talking about me. I'm asking for a friend. How fast that falls through every time was freaking brilliant.
I've never tried that because in every movie it's like you.
Yeah. It's like it's such a stereotypical thing. I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah,
that was so good. So yeah, there's just so many moments like that where it just hits it on the pin of like this is what I would be thinking or doing in these situations at this age. With my very first crush. Maybe that's the more realistic thing, is not necessarily at the age, but like your first romantic crush or whatever. So
yeah, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd be here all day if we recounted every great moment that the show has. So
yeah, pretty much.
Go watch it yourself. Go experience it.
This is Trevor's 11th anime. So with that being said, man, does this bounce that Tower of God out your top 10?
If you say no, I'm gonna wring your neck.
So I have an interesting take for y'all.
Oh yeah, we never got to your hot takes, did we?
Yeah.
I don't know if your hot takes faded away after you watched the last 6 episodes or not, though.
This is my favorite anime that I've seen yet. This is
Tower of what?
You are a god.
This is my first 10 that I'm ever giving a show.
That's dope.
This is the first time I've been comfortable enough to give a 10, even though I did like a couple of moments in the show, but it was
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sir,
it's a solid fucking 10. That was the point. I was trying to hype y'all up so we could talk about it. But yeah.
Before this,
Demon Slayer,
that's right.
and that was at a 9.5. So I don't give out 10s. I don't give out 10s, but this is a once in a lifetime kind of show. It's cool as fuck.
Yeah, man.
So if we're rating, the way I've been talking about it, y'all already know this is a 10 for me. I mean, it was I think like number 6 in my top 10, something like that, and that's high up there. So yeah, I think on my anime list I gave the first season a 9 and the second one a 10.
I did that, and then I switched. I gave it a 9. I gave the first season a 9, then I went back and gave it a 10 after I realized how great it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you give it, Daddy Dave?
Oh, me?
Daddy Dave.
I give it an 8.5. I really love it, and it's fantastic. It's not a top 10 for me, but it's just, I mean, every episode is great. It's a blast to watch. The fact that they can do comedy and in-depth like drama stuff at like the highest level is, I don't know where it's going to go from here, but I'm fine with it going for like a bunch of seasons if it stays like this. And it's just like, it'll be like the best anime sitcom of all time, maybe. Like,
this quality, yeah. I think I'll be thinking about these characters for months and years to come. Just how like joyful I feel whenever I see fucking President with Shinomiya. Just their dynamic alone is worth the 10 for me.
Yeah, it's like heartwarming and comforting, and it's not too like, like it gets into some real stuff, but it's not gonna like mess with your head. But it's just so well done. Yeah.
There's also just never a dull moment. Like it's all like you're always just locked in because like we said earlier, it's the visuals, the animation, the backgrounds, the little bits they do, the words they stamp over it, everything. Like you're inundated with a fuckload of content and like the music and sound effects and everything. So it's all keeping your attention, and like we said, the voice acting is fucking phenomenal. Kaguya is great. Shinomiya is great. My favorite is definitely the narrator because he gets so intense, and so his intonation and his pacing and everything is so good. And then every once in a while he puts on like the girl voice and everything. He like imitates a girl. And
real quick, I forget one of my favorite moments when they after they read the manga and it turns into a shoujo anime for like the last part of the episode, and he's like the shoujo effect, and he's talking all like soft and stuff. It was it's such a good parody.
Yeah, it's a whole 5-minute thing after the episode ends where they're in shoujo world where they animate their faces and eyes like extra cute and all that stuff, and they're all like lovesick, like acting like they're in the manga. That was so good.
Suddenly Ishigami's hot for no reason.
Yeah.
Like all cool. It's like
they did that a lot with the show, especially in the second season where he just starts flipping his hair all crazy and shit, and he like gets into his sexuality. Like, I'm hot.
Yeah. So funny.
The one.
What about you?
The one last bit about Ishigami is the bit where he has to wear Kaguya's uniform, and she goes, "Is it too tight in the waist?" She's like, "No." He's like, "No, that's fine, but it's a little tight in the chest." It's like,
I have pecs.
Yeah.
Alex, where do you rate this show?
Well, you know, I give it a 9. As you know, I put it in my top 10. I think it was number 7 for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dope show.
Yeah,
I love the show, the characters, everything we talked about. 9, solid 9.
Dope.
Dang, that's great.
I love to hear it.
I'm glad.
Speaking of great shows, we're going to talk about another great show in 2 weeks called Cells at Work, which I have already finished. So
yeah,
this is going to be
the second season is already airing, which is pretty cool and exciting. I'm excited to see where they take the show from there, but I'm excited to see where you guys fall with it because it's a very fun show and probably different from what you've seen so far.
Yeah, this is this is definitely interesting for me because I think this is maybe the first anime we've done since Promised Neverland that I've seen very, very little of that I haven't watched already. So
Cowboy Bebop.
You watched
Cowboy Bebop. True. Yep.
Yeah.
Correctamundo.
Alex, I think you'll enjoy Cells at Work a lot if you haven't already touched upon it for reasons to not be said yet. But I think you'll enjoy it.
True.
I'm hyped for it. I have to learn some stuff.
Yeah. It's quick. It's like 13 episodes, but
yeah, I'm down.
After that, we'll be tackling My Hero Academia. I have already watched 7 episodes, and I'm pretty hooked. So
we got a mean mug list.
I'm excited.
A mean mugging list.
I'm excited to keep going with that. We might just go on an epic binge for a couple months and just start tackling these longer shows.
Yeah,
because it's been way too long. We've been putting it off too long.
Yeah, getting some of these well-established
ones. That'll be intense as frick. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, if that sounds tantalizing to you, please come back to us when we go to release those episodes.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll be just as great as these and our Your Light in April episode. All kinds of stuff. We got all kinds of stuff packed for you.
And if you're new here, feel free to go back through the catalog. This is episode 33, I believe. So we got quite a few anime episodes. If you're interested in other variety stuff, anything like that, go back through the catalog and find something you like. Pick it out.
Yeah. Let us know what you think of the show if you so choose. And it's been real.
Yep. Leave us some comments on your thoughts about this podcast, your thoughts about the show. We'd love to hear it. I love you all. I love all your opinions. So come share them with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Seconded. Hardcore. Just rate, review, whatever you want to do for us. That we appreciate every little bit of feedback we get. So thank you very much. And I'll change it up a little bit. I'll say sayonara, everyone.
Ooh. In the wise words of the narrator of Love Is War, today's battle result is a dope episode from the Unboxing Light podcast.
We all win.
Peace out, baby.